Part 27. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 261. After receiving Wang Feng's signal, Lu Wu also hurriedly ordered, "All enhancers go back and continue, others, follow me to get in the car." Then, he turned and walked into the hurricane. After receiving the order, those ordinary soldiers got into the hurricane one by one. Fortunately, the hurricane was large enough to accommodate more people than ordinary armored personnel carriers, so they were still very spacious after entering. Wang Feng stood on the roof of the car and silently counted the number of soldiers entering the hurricane. After counting to 36, no more soldiers entered the hurricane. 36 people. Wang Feng nodded, and then instructed Tiankai in his heart to synthesize 36 enhancement potions, and then turned around and entered the hurricane compartment from the shooting port. The people on the roof smiled at each other. Lu Wu might wonder in his heart why Wang Feng only chose ordinary people to go with him, and did not bring any enhancers. They naturally knew the purpose of Wang Feng's special selection of these ordinary people. Thinking of their surprise when they got the second-level evolution potion last night, and the surprise when they woke up in the morning and found that their strength had improved, Meng Fei and Li Gu couldn't help shaking their heads and smiling bitterly. They could imagine what the expressions on the faces of the warriors in the carriage would be when they realized that they had become enhancers. This ability of the madman is definitely the most valuable ability in this Doomsday. No one else. Meng Fei smiled bitterly and said softly in an affirmative tone. "Yeah." Hearing Meng Fei's words, Lu Feng, Tang Haoshan, Gui Wuivang, and Li Gu nodded together. This ability is of course awesome, but how could they know that this is the function of Tiankai, not a superpower? Wang Feng didn't go down for long. Before Lu Feng drove the car out of the gate of the defense wall, he had already climbed up, and then stood proudly at the front of the roof, looking forward. He handed all the strengthening potions directly to Lu Wu, because the strengthening potion does not require blood, so there is no need to distinguish people, just one bottle per person. Wang Feng did not say what kind of potion it was, but just told Lu Wu to distribute all the potions and let the soldiers drink it immediately and then lie down, and then turned around and went up. This was also Wang Feng's way of testing Lu Wu to see how much he trusted him. Because he planned to take all these people into the Hope Base, he had to think about their positions first. Those who trusted him could be put into the Guardian Corps, and those who did not trust him could stay in the Hope Corps first. Because of Lu Wu's performance, he now believed in Wang Feng and the others. Wang Feng wanted to know whether this person was consistent in appearance and reality. If he believed in himself on the surface, but still had reservations in his heart, Wang Feng would naturally not put such a person who was inconsistent in appearance and reality into the Guardian Corps. After Wang Feng went up, Lu Wu looked at the strengthening potion in his hand, hesitated for a moment, and then distributed all the strengthening potions. Then, according to Wang Feng's instructions, he asked these people to drink the potion and find a place to lie down. Although these soldiers were surprised by Lu Wu's order, no one questioned it. After taking the potion, they sat down on the spot, opened the potion bottle, and drank it all up. Soon, there were people lying on the ground in the back of the hurricane carriage. Lu Wu looked at these soldiers with a calm face. He did not doubt Wang Feng, because he had questioned Wang Feng before, whether he was worthy of his military uniform. He saw the sadness in Wang Feng's eyes, and the performance of Wang Feng and others at the stairs, as well as a series of actions later. Lu Wu did believe Wang Feng. Especially Wang Feng's current target is these ordinary soldiers. If he wants to harm them, does he need to give them drugs? As long as Wang Feng takes action, Lu Wu is sure that in less than 2 minutes, these people will be killed by Wang Feng. Lu Feng didn't care about what happened next. He kept going along the road to Juking City. The map was easy to understand. If they kept going along the road they had taken before, they would enter Juking City. However, the biochemical research institute they were going to was still some distance away from Juking City. This was normal. Such a research institute could not be set up directly in the city. Soon, Lu Feng drove the Hurricane to the main road they had been driving on before, and then continued to drive towards Juking City. During this time, the soldiers who drank the potion had also woken up one by one. After they woke up, they felt the changes in themselves, and they were all shocked. "What happened?" Lu Wu asked, not knowing why. I seem to have become an enhancer," a soldier stuttered, with a hint of uncertainty in his tone. I too. I too. I too." Soon, all the soldiers stood up and told Lu Wu the same message. They had all become enhancers, without exception. Looking at the 36 soldiers in front of him with surprised faces, Lu Wu couldn't help but shed tears. He knew that these people would not lie to him, and he also knew what these people had given up in order to allow Su Mo to become an evolver first. The reason why they lost a lot of manpower in the riot was because there were too many ordinary people among them. Those people gave up the chance to become enhancers and made Su Mo successful, but they died in the riot without any reward. This has always been a pain in Lu Wu and Su Mo's hearts. Now, seeing that these soldiers have finally become enhancers, Lu Wu's eyes are filled with tears. He turned around and climbed to the roof of the car to find Wang Feng. When Wang Feng saw Lu Wu's expression, he knew that the people below had become enhancers. He also smiled because it was obvious that Lu Wu had passed his test. "Thank you," Lu Wu saluted, "you helped me make up for what I owed my brothers, which means I owe you many lives? But I only have one life, so I will return one to you. From now on, Lu Wu's life is yours." "Okay. Then I will accept it, but I will keep it in the account first. Your life must be left to Peacetown. After Peacetown is safely transferred to Hope Base, you can sell your life to me." Wang Feng did not refuse. Anyway, Lu Wu will be his subordinate in the future. If he agreed to this, maybe Lu Wu would feel better. "Okay," Lu Wu nodded, then asked, "What's in those bottles?" "Enhancement potion, similar to the enhancement liquid in the zombies' brains, and it is also extracted from that thing, but the effect is 100% successful, with no chance of failure," Wang Feng replied. "This is a special ability of mine." Such a powerful ability, Lu Wu was shocked, and then asked curiously, "Didn't you say you have a space ability?" "Ha ha ha," Tang Haoshan came over, put his arm around Lu Wu's shoulder and laughed. "Don't compare him to this pervert. First of all, he is a third-order evolutionary, one level higher than us. Second, he doesn't just have these two abilities. In addition to the space ability and the ability to make potions, his eyes also have a telescope skill, and he is an agile evolver, so he also has an agility ability." Tang Haoshan's series of words stunned Lu Wu. After a long while, he shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Damn it! Comparing people is so annoying. So just don't compare with him," Gui Wuovong interrupted and said. "Just think of this as a movie. He is the protagonist, he. Although he is not the protagonist, it is not bad to be around the protagonist." Acting in a movie's shadow, Gui Wuovong's words made Lu Wu sigh. He looked at the scattered zombies that appeared from time to time on both sides of the road and sighed. "Yes. Since entering the end of the world, we have been acting in a movie, and this environment is really like a movie." Hearing Lu Wu's words, everyone in the car was silent and looked at the scenery on both sides of the road. When passing a thin zombie, everyone's attention was attracted by him. This was a little boy who looked only 7 or 8 years old, staggering and moving forward aimlessly. In front of him was a zombie transformed from an adult, also walking along the road, moving forward blindly. No one knows the story between these two zombies. Maybe they are father and son. Maybe the child turned into a corpse and the father went to rescue the child and was bitten. Maybe the father turned into a corpse first and then killed his child. Maybe there is no relationship between these two zombies at all. The depressing atmosphere lasted until they arrived at their destination, the Biochemical Research Institute. The defense of the Biochemical Research Institute was very tight. The iron fence surrounding the institute was not damaged. However, from the perspective of the wanderers in white clothes inside, the iron fence had lost its protective function. Outside the institute, there were about hundreds of wanderers and more than 20 enhanced zombies. As the end of the world progressed, it seemed that the proportion of enhanced zombies was gradually increasing. However, this number of zombies was not taken seriously by Wang Feng and his team. In order to save time, Wang Feng did not order the new enhancers in the carriage to join the battle. "Get started." Quick and decisive, Wang Feng said, and rushed directly to the zombies around him. Tang Haoshan, Gui Wuivang, and others also joined the battle. Hundreds of zombies were killed in front of them before they could last for 5 minutes. Wang Feng walked around the zombies killed by others. More than 500 zombies and more than 20 enhanced zombies not only made up for the apocalypse points he had just consumed in synthesizing the enhancement potion, but also made some profit. This is the terrifying part of apocalypse. As long as there are zombies, Wang Feng can basically have as many enhancers as he wants. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 262. After clearing the zombies outside, Tang Haoshan went directly to the fence, jumped in, and shot the 2 zombies in security uniforms in the security room in the head. Then, he pressed the button of the electric door. However, the door did not respond. It seemed that the power supply of this institute had been cut off, and there should be no one inside. Because this kind of special institution has its own generator and sufficient fuel reserves, there will be no problem for at least 1 year. Now that the power supply has been cut off, it means that no one has started the backup power supply. Tang Haoshan came outside and shook his head, indicating that the gate had no power. Then, he walked to the side of the gate. Outside, Gui Wuivang also came to the side of the gate, because this guy is also a power-type evolver. The two grabbed the gate together, and then pulled it open together. Lu Feng didn't need anyone to say anything. After the gate was opened, he drove the hurricane into the Biochemical Research Institute. The Biochemical Research Institute is very large, and there are hundreds of zombies wandering inside. When they saw Hurricane coming in, these zombies not only did not rush up, but gathered together. Moreover, zombies continued to pour out of the Biochemical Research Institute. Damn! There are mutant zombies. Seeing this situation, Lu Feng, who had just walked out of Hurricane, understood it immediately. Haha! How many people are there in this institute? There are actually mutant zombies, Tang Haoshan laughed. Maybe the IQ of the people in the institute is high, so they evolve quickly. Gui Wuivang also came to join in the fun. It was just an evolved zombie, and they didn't take it seriously. Li Tianxiang and others also followed them to participate in the battle in Haki City. Naturally, they would not take a mutant zombie seriously. They killed hundreds of mutant zombies at the beginning. Let alone this is just a mutant zombie, even if it is a mutant zombie king, or even an alienated zombie, with Wang Feng here, it would be a piece of cake. At the beginning, Wang Feng directly killed the mutant skeleton. Who's coming? Li Gu also came over, while Li Tianxiang and Meng Fei jumped back into the car to watch the fun. Li Tianxiang also asked Meng Fei, "Old Meng, you are so smart, guess who will kill this mutant zombie?" "Guess? It must be a madman. He just said that it saves time. If someone kills him, he still has to absorb the energy, and waste that time twice," Meng Fei replied disdainfully, as if the question asked by Li Tianxiang was an insult to his IQ. The 36 soldiers and Lu Wu who had already gathered in Heping Town were dumbfounded. What's going on? Mutated zombies? Those are mutant zombies, not enhanced zombies. Why do these people act like the enhanced zombies are going to appear soon? They are still chatting leisurely, with no intention of disrupting the zombie gathering. Mutated zombies are invincible to them, because they only have one evolver. When Wang Feng and his team killed the mutant zombie, they were already evolvers, and they also had Apocalypse. However, they still killed the mutant zombie with the help of Lu Qiang, but the mutant zombie was a little stronger than the ordinary mutant zombie. But even if it was an ordinary mutant zombie, Su Mo didn't know where the mutant zombie's weakness was, so he couldn't kill it. It was because of this that they didn't dare to come here to rob those anti-chemical vehicles that made them very greedy. But now looking at the appearance of Wang Feng and his team, they didn't take the mutant zombie seriously at all. Instead, they watched leisurely on the side, letting the zombies gather freely. Once the zombies gathered, under the leadership of the mutant zombies, it was no joke. While these zombies were gathering, the zombies outside the institute were also called by the mutant zombies and gathered here. However, after Lu Feng drove the hurricane in, they had closed the door again, so these gathered zombies could not get in at all and could only roar through the iron fence. Looking at this scene, Wang Feng suddenly felt a little funny. He felt like those boxers who fought underground black boxing before the end of the world, locked in a cage ready to fight with their opponents, and all the spectators outside the cage were watching the boxing match and pressing on themselves. Soon, no more zombies came out of the institute. It seemed that all the zombies inside had come out. Wang Feng nodded with satisfaction. This was their real purpose. When the zombies gathered, they watched the excitement on the side, not to show off, but because they didn't want to be troublesome and search for zombies inside. They simply let the mutant zombies help them call out all the zombies inside, and then kill them outside to save trouble. Moreover, the concentration of zombies is also good for Wang Feng. When absorbing energy, he doesn't need to run around. However, their behavior was seen by Lu Wu and others. They were just pretending to be awesome. But they pretended very well, at least others didn't dare to pretend like that. Pretending to be powerful is called pretending, and pretending to be stupid without the power is called stupid. After the zombies were assembled, a roar came from the top floor of the institute. A mutant zombie appeared on the top floor. It was stretching its arms and roaring to the sky. With the setting sun behind it, it shone on its 3-meter-high body, shining with golden light, and it looked extremely powerful. Damn! This guy is so handsome. Wang Feng looked up at the mutant zombie on the roof and said, I give full marks to this pretender. More, the angle is not good. The whole face is backlit and cannot be seen at all. It should be tilted a little further so that the sun can shine on half of its face. That would be perfect. Gui Wuivong shook his head and expressed dissatisfaction. Agree with Wang Feng's statement. No. I think it's more mysterious this way. If you can't see the face, the audience will have more expectations, right? Tang Haoshan objected. Why are you watching a movie? It's still mysterious. When did you have expectations for the appearance of zombies? Lu Feng looked at Tang Haoshan with strange eyes. That's right. These guys are all disgusting, no wonder they dare not show their faces. Tang Haoshan immediately admitted his mistake humbly, and immediately pointed out the real reason why the mutated zombies did not show their faces. The mutated zombies roaring on the roof were furious. Damn it, I have so many younger guys here, how dare you call me ugly? These guys are terrible at chatting. There are some things that you can just see, but saying them out is too much. You can't tolerate anything like this. So, the mutated zombie finished roaring, closed its mouth, crouched slightly, and finally jumped down from the top of the building and fell into the group of corpses. It was not that stupid. It had to stand at the front with a bunch of younger brothers. The mutated zombie seemed to have watched many gangster movies before his death and knew this truth. Therefore, the direction in which it fell was deliberately left out among the corpses. A location. Seeing the mutated zombie jump down, Wang Feng's lips twitched into a smile. Was he done pretending? Then you can go die. When the mutated zombies jumped down, Wang Feng also moved. He ran directly towards the landing point of the mutated zombies. When he was close to the zombies, he jumped into the air, landed on the zombies' heads, and moved his body upwards again, directly in contact with the falling process. The mutated zombies collided. Poof, an extremely subtle sound came, and then all the corpses fell into a sluggish state. Lu Feng, Tang Haoshan, and Gui Weivu, who had already experienced it, looked at each other and exchanged looks. Tang Haoshan couldn't help but first he said, "This guy seems to be getting more and more perverted." "Oh. I can't help it. Anyway, I won't compete with him now. That's just looking for abuse. I guess the only ones who can compete with him in the base are the instructors." Lu Feng spread his hands and gestured, and then put his hands on his hands. Behind his head, he looked at the sky and said, "Let's just follow the gangster." Wang Feng and the mutated zombies landed together. Then, Wang Feng's body broke into the sluggish zombies again. Apocalypse in his hand began to crazily harvest the zombies around him. After Apocalypse upgraded, it could no longer be called a dagger. Well, maybe it's more appropriate to call it a long knife, but after Wang Feng killed a few zombies around him with 2 knives, he suddenly felt something was wrong. Turning around, he saw Lu Feng and the others chatting leisurely over there. Tang Haoshan was still pointing at him, as if saying that his knife-holding posture was a bit ugly, and he suddenly became furious. "Damn it! What the hell are you doing? Are you here to watch the show? Or don't you know how to kill zombies? If not, I'll tell the instructor and help you recover." Upon hearing that, Wang Feng said that they should go to the instructor's place to recover. Tang Haoshan and others were immediately shocked. They rushed forward and killed these unlucky zombies desperately. Each of them looked like they were scrambling to be the first, extremely brave and huge. There is a person who wants to destroy all these zombies. Lu Wu and others who were watching were all dumbfounded. Such an awesome way to appear, such a shocking roar, such a graceful leap, such a mighty fall from the sky, and then, were killed instantly. What the hell is this, a mutant zombie? The speed at which Wang Feng killed the mutated zombies was really unacceptable to these people for a while, so they all stood there pretending to be terracotta warriors and horses. Until all the zombies in the research institute were slaughtered, Tang Haoshan suddenly turned around, became furious, and shouted fiercely, "Damn! Are you all pretending to be terracotta warriors and horses there? The zombies are gone, why not quickly search for things?" Tang Haoshan was very depressed. The strength of these guys was not as good as that of the Guardian Legion, but the technology of installing terracotta warriors and horses was definitely top-notch, absolutely no less than those Guardian warriors. Lu Wu and the others just woke up from a dream, but when they saw the zombie corpses all over the ground, they were still a little unbelievable. However, they still ran all the way towards the chemical defense vehicles parked in the courtyard of the research institute. "Search inside first to see if there is anything we can take back. We'll talk about the cars last," Lu Feng quickly reminded. "These guys are so unprofessional. Do they want to drive an empty car back? There is no professional robber spirit at all." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 263. Actually, Lu Feng was right. These soldiers had never robbed anything properly, because they were ordinary people. At the beginning, they followed the search team to get some resources from nearby places. Later, when there were no resources nearby, they basically had to stay. These soldiers were composed of some survivors in the town who lost their relatives when the sky fire came, and those construction workers. Because when the sky fire came, the town was under construction. After the end of the world, Except for some people who insisted on leaving to find their families, the rest of the construction team stayed. That's why they would rather rest in the tent outside the fence than enter the fence, because the scene inside would evoke too many memories for them. The fence was like a seal between two worlds, isolating them from happiness. Inside was a warm human society, while outside was the end of the world full of dangers. After hearing Lu Feng's words, they reacted and rushed into the research institute. Although the zombies inside should have been summoned by the mutant zombies, there would inevitably be some fish that were trapped in a certain space. Although these warriors are now enhancers, they inevitably have less combat experience. So, seeing these warriors rushing into the research institute, Tang Haoshan and the others hurriedly followed in. Wang Feng climbed directly from the outer wall of the research institute to the top of the research institute. He wanted to see the situation in the central area of Juking City and how many zombies there were nearby. The research institute where Wang Feng was located in the east of Juking City, so Wang Feng looked west. With the help of the sky eye and the fact that it was not completely dark, Wang Feng was able to get a rough idea of the situation in Juking City. The zombies in Juking City were no less numerous than those in Haki City, and judging from the signs Wang Feng saw, there should be alienated zombies in Juking City, because Wang Feng did not find any obvious boundaries between the zombies in Haki City. Wang Feng frowned. If the Guardian warriors had already left the city, it would not be a problem to take over Juking City, but that would take at least a week. Moreover, the affairs of the Heping town here could not be left alone. It seemed that the previous idea had to be put aside for the time being. Now Wang Feng felt that he was a little overwhelmed. However, there was no other way. He would just have to wait until this period of collective evolution was over. By then, they could be divided into several teams and dispersed to search outside. There was only 2 months left, so they had to hurry. After shaking his head gently, Wang Feng turned around and looked in other directions, but he unexpectedly saw a person. About 3 kilometers south of the institute, a person was running desperately, and behind him were 30 or 40 wanderers. It seemed that this person was also an ordinary person, otherwise he would never be chased so embarrassed by so few wanderers. Since he saw it, there was no reason not to take action. Wang Feng jumped down and ran all the way in the direction of that person. The person had not yet discovered that there were nearly 100 zombies gathered 500 or 600 meters in front of him, and there were also enhanced zombies among them. If he ran all the way like this, there would be only one ending: becoming a delicious meal for zombies. Great God of Liberty! Save your believers, please, Almighty God of Liberty, please save me. A middle-aged man in his 40s, while muttering in his mouth, ran forward desperately. He had messy hair and a thick beard on his face, which made it difficult to see what his face looked like. Only the pair of bloodshot eyes could be seen. However, after running for a while, he suddenly stopped, his eyes showing despair, because in front of him, there appeared a group of zombies that were more numerous than those behind him. The most damning thing was that there were 3 or 4 enhanced zombies in this group of zombies. The bearded man looked around him. He just ran through an alley. There was no way out on both sides. He was surrounded by zombies. Plop, the desperate middle-aged man knelt on his knees, put his hands together, and kept praying to the sky that was already shrouded in the night. He trembled and repeated a sentence: God of Liberty, save me, God of Liberty, save me, God of Liberty. Swish, a figure passed by him and rushed towards the approaching group of zombies in front. Then, in more than a minute, nearly 100 zombies were all killed. Then, the figure turned around and looked at the bearded middle-aged man. The middle-aged man turned around and found that the zombies that had been chasing him had all been killed. He was overjoyed and immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Wang Feng. Wang Feng frowned and turned his body slightly. Unexpectedly, at this time, he heard the voice from the middle-aged man's mouth: Thank you, God of Liberty. Thank you, God of Liberty. Damn it. It was obviously me who saved you, okay. Wang Feng felt depressed. Just now when he was killing the zombies behind him, he heard the nagging of the strong man, what God of Liberty save me, God of Liberty save me, so he now knew that the God of Liberty in the middle-aged man's mouth was definitely not referring to himself. Hey, seeing the strong man kowtowing to thank the God of Liberty endlessly, Wang Feng couldn't help but get a little impatient and shouted, "That's enough. Get up. I have a question for you." If Wang Feng hadn't wanted to ask about the situation around him, he would have left this guy alone. Wang Feng had never heard of the God of Freedom this guy was talking about. It must be some belief that appeared after the end of the world. For some traditional sects, such as Christianity that Duan Lei believed in, although Wang Feng didn't believe in it, he was still quite afraid of it and didn't dare to comment on the God they were talking about. After all, this sect has existed for thousands of years. As the saying goes, existence is the truth. It can be passed down for thousands of years. Wang Feng thinks it must not be a scam. No scam can be passed down for so long. Therefore, although Wang Feng himself has no faith, he never comments on other beliefs. But Wang Feng has no awe in his heart for such a God of freedom. Since the end of the world, various cults have sprung up like mushrooms after rain, spreading among the survivors who are filled with fear and panic, and those survivors are like grabbing a life-saving straw. No matter what God it is, as long as it claims to be able to save them, they will desperately pray. This God of Liberty must be a man-made God after the end of the world. Wang Feng felt a little sad for the middle-aged man in front of him. If he had not kneeled down to worship the God of Liberty just now, but turned around to fight with the zombies behind him, although he would most likely die, he would at least have a glimmer of hope of escape. And his action of kneeling on the ground completely ruined his life. If he had not appeared, this guy who had been asking the God of Liberty to save him would probably be torn to pieces by the zombies while he was kneeling devoutly. The middle-aged man stood up, looked at Wang Feng, nodded gently, and said, "Little brother, thank you for listening to the call of the God of Liberty and coming to save me. The God of Liberty will give you great power." "That's right. He also asked me to save the world, so I'm very busy, don't waste my time." Wang Feng curled his lips and said sarcastically. Really, what surprised Wang Feng was that the middle-aged man didn't understand what Wang Feng meant at all. He asked with a look of ecstasy, and then without waiting for Wang Feng to answer, he knelt on his knees again and kowtowed again, "Thank the great God of Liberty, you finally heard the call of the servants and sent a messenger to save us." Oh my, Wang Feng couldn't help but feel depressed. Is this guy stupid? Can't he tell the difference between good and bad words? Hey! Can you not waste time? I told you I'm busy, Wang Feng shouted again. Oh! I understand. The middle-aged man stood up quickly, and his expression towards Wang Feng was also very respectful. What does the messenger want to ask? Messenger, Wang Feng was stunned, and then he didn't correct him. Let the messenger be a messenger, so that this guy might be more obedient. Is your camp near here? Wang Feng asked. Camp? Oh. You mean our hiding place, right? Well. Not far. It's only 3 kilometers from here. In that direction. The middle-aged man was stunned, then reacted, pointed behind Wang Feng and said. Wang Feng turned his head and looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, hesitating. He originally wanted to save people, but he didn't expect this guy's reaction to surprise him. He didn't want to take these cult believers to his base of hope. As if seeing Wang Feng's hesitation, the bearded man hurriedly said, "Messenger, you must save us. We have been besieged by zombies. There are more than 30 people in total, all believers of the God of Liberty. I guarantee that they are loyal to the God of Liberty." Hearing the words of the middle-aged man, Wang Feng didn't want to save them anymore, but after thinking about it, more than 30 people, he should go and see. After all, There are so many appointments, at worst, let them go to Hacky City to fend for themselves. Old Lou. I found some survivors. Let's go over and take a look. You guys just wait for me over there. Wang Feng took out the intercom and spoke to the inside. After all, he was outside, so he still said hello to avoid worrying everyone. Got it. Lu Feng's answer was very brief. He didn't ask anything. He was probably busy looking at the harvest in front of him. Putting away the intercom, Wang Feng looked at the middle-aged man and said, "Lead the way." Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 264. When the middle-aged man heard that Wang Feng had companions, he couldn't help but hesitated. "Master Messenger. Don't you want to bring your companions with you? There are many zombies surrounding us. Stop talking nonsense and lead the way." Wang Feng's answer was absolutely rude. Yes. Yes. I will bring the envoy over now. Because of the misunderstanding of Wang Feng's identity, the middle-aged man did not feel dissatisfied at all. Instead, he ran past Wang Feng in fear and ran towards Wang Feng's rear. Wang Feng followed the middle-aged man all the way, and encountered more than a dozen zombies on the road, all of which were eliminated by Wang Feng instantly. With Wang Feng's current strength, these ordinary zombies did not pose any threat at all. In less than 10 minutes, the middle-aged man stopped, pointed to a medium-sized supermarket in front of him, turned to look at Wang Feng and said, "Messenger, we are trapped in that supermarket." Wang Feng looked at the supermarket in front of him. This supermarket was an independent building with only 2 floors. It was quite large, covering thousands of square meters. Maybe it was because there were people inside. There were thousands of zombies gathered around the supermarket. But no mutated zombies appeared. In fact, this is normal. There should not be mutated zombies among 1,000 zombies. As for the one in the research institute, it should be a special case, maybe because there are some chemical reagents in the research institute that catalyze zombies. After all, it was a biochemistry research institute, and it had something to do with these zombies. After seeing the situation around him clearly, Wang Feng once again felt the inconvenience of not having a guardian warrior around him. If there were 100 guardian warriors around him, the zombies that came forward would only be solved in minutes. But now he has to rely on himself. Come and kill. Complaints are complaints. Now that we are here, we have to go back without taking action, right? Wang Feng summoned the Blade of Apocalypse and went directly into the group of zombies. Seeing the intrusion of a stranger, the zombies gathered excitedly and prepared to start a dinner party. This was exactly in line with Wang Feng's wishes. He saved himself from running away. After more than 10 minutes of chopping left and right, he finally killed all the zombies. As for those who were still wandering around the supermarket, Wang Feng ignored them. It was a waste of time. There is still time to gain a few apocalypse points. Turning around and looking at the middle-aged man hiding far behind, Wang Feng shook his head again. All the zombies had been killed. What was this guy doing hiding there if he didn't know how to come over and call for help? Was your brain eaten by zombies? Call your people out. Wang Feng waved his hand impatiently and shouted to the middle-aged man. Now Wang Feng's patience has almost been worn out by this middle-aged man. Oh! Here we come. The middle-aged man ran over and knocked hard on the rolling shutter door at the entrance of the supermarket. Open the door. I am Ma Tao. I have found reinforcements. In fact, when Wang Feng started killing zombies, people in the supermarket had already seen it. They saw it from the rooftop of the supermarket, but they seemed to be unsure whether the people below were enemies or friends, so they didn't dare open the door. At this time, when they heard someone calling the door, the people inside opened the rolling shutter door. All the survivors in the supermarket had appeared at the door. Obviously, they may not trust each other and were afraid that they would be left alone. After the door opened, The bearded man hurriedly ran into the crowd and followed those people. "What are you talking about?" Wang Feng frowned and looked at the group of survivors. Among the more than 30 people, there were only 2 women, the others were all adult men, and those 2 women were both good-looking. "Look at this supermarket. The scale makes it easy to guess what happened here. There must have been more than one survivor in such a large supermarket, because this supermarket was obviously not attacked by the sky fire. For a medium-sized supermarket, it was still noon when the sky fire came, and there should be at least 1,000 customers inside. In addition, nearby survivors will also gather here, and now there are only a few left. It is obvious that a tragedy of fratricide must have occurred, and these people belong to the victor's side." After listening to the middle-aged man's words, the eyes of the guy in the middle who looked like a leader flashed. The God of Liberty was made up by this guy. He naturally knew that there was no God of Liberty in the world, so he created this God. Just so that you can better manage others. Now that such a person who claims to be the messenger of the God of Liberty suddenly appeared, and he is also a tough guy, the leader couldn't help but feel that his position might be threatened, so he did not show any surprise. "Little brother. Thank you for saving us. But are you really the messenger of the God of Liberty?" The leader came to Wang Feng with a sinister light in his eyes, looked at Wang Feng and asked. "I don't know your God of Liberty, and he didn't bring me here. I came to save you just because you are human beings, not because of some god." Wang Feng shook his head and then asked. "Do you know if there are any survivors around here?" Seeing the scene inside, Wang Feng had already decided to ignore the life and death of these people and let them fend for themselves. However, he still asked if there were any survivors around him. "There are no other survivors. There should be no more. At least we didn't see it." When the leader heard Wang Feng's answer, his eyes lit up. If not, then it wouldn't be any threat to his position, but this leader didn't do it at all. You know, Wang Feng didn't notice him at all among the more than 30 people. "No more." Wang Feng frowned and looked at the other people. The other people nodded quickly. Wang Feng sighed, then shook his head, turned around and prepared to leave. "Little brother." The little boss saw Wang Feng was about to leave, and quickly took a few steps forward to catch up with Wang Feng. "Little brother, since the God of Liberty has sent you to us, it means that you are also chosen by the God of Liberty in the world." "Lucky man, I am the messenger of the God of Liberty in the world. Since the God of Liberty has given you great power, you should be with us. Only in this way can the God of Liberty be happy, and he will make you stronger." "Stop. You'd better not mention your freedom god in front of me, otherwise, I don't mind sending you to see him," Wang Feng said coldly. As soon as Wang Feng said that he would send him to see his God of Liberty, the leader immediately shut up. He knew what the God of Liberty was, and he must not go to see it. But when he saw that Wang Feng was about to leave again, he caught up again. "Little brother," the little boss said, "look. Save people to the end. Although we have been rescued by you, there are only 2 strengtheners among us. This is a place where zombies are raging, and it is night again. We will be killed by zombies soon outside. If we go back and hide, we may be surrounded by zombies again tomorrow morning. Little brother, you don't want your efforts to be in vain, do you? We will leave at dawn tomorrow." Wang Feng looked at this little boss and frowned. To be honest, he didn't like this guy, but what he said made sense. By keeping them here, it was almost as if he had not taken any action. In fact, Wang Feng really wanted to ask him, "Since you have the God of Liberty, what are you afraid of?" But he was really too lazy to talk to these people, so he just said, "Follow me," and then walked towards the research institute without looking back. The little boss got Wang Feng's permission, and there was a look of surprise on his face. He quickly waved to the people inside, and then followed Wang Feng, and more than 30 other survivors also followed. Because he was leading these people, Wang Feng didn't walk very fast. He returned to the research institute after half an hour. Along the way, there were indeed many zombies, as the little boss said. The road was a little more than 5 kilometers, and Wang Fengzhou killed nearly 200 zombies, and even 2 enhanced zombies. Wang Feng took these survivors and climbed over the railing from the back of the institute before entering the institute. Because there were many zombies in front of them that were attracted by the mutated zombies, Wang Feng was too lazy to lead them to kill them alone. Fortunately, the railing of the institute, the power grid on the river, has failed, so it is not difficult for these people to climb over. However, it was not too late for Wang Feng to come back, because Lu Feng and the others were moving things out, and there was a man in a white coat among them. Wang Feng was surprised. He did not expect that there were survivors in this research institute. Seeing Wang Feng return, Lu Feng quickly ran over, pointed at the white coat and said, "Madman, we found a survivor inside." According to him, he is the director of this research institute. When the end of the world comes, he was studying a project and locked himself in the laboratory for several days and nights. Later, he found that the power suddenly went out and wanted to check what happened. Only then did he realize that outside his laboratory, everything had turned into zombie researcher. Fortunately, when he was doing research, it usually lasted for several days and nights, so there was a lounge in the research room, and a lot of food was stored in it. This allowed him to persevere until now. He said that there is a way to develop a serum that can neutralize the zombie virus, so we moved out everything he needed. Huh? Is there such a thing? Wang Feng's eyes lit up. Although his evolution potion can eliminate the zombie virus, the quantity is limited after all, and it is impossible to produce it in large quantities. If it can really be used, there can be a serum that can eliminate the zombie virus. That is good news for Hope Base. Wang Feng quickly walked up to the man in the white coat and stretched out his hand. "Hope Base, Wang Feng." The man in the white coat also stretched out his hand and shook it with Wang Feng. "My name is Gu Changsheng. I am the director of this research institute. Are you the leader of these people?" Wang Feng looked at Gu Changsheng's nameplate, and sure enough he saw it read, "Dr. Gu Changsheng's position is director," and the photo also matched the person in front of him. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 265. However, the Gu Changsheng in the photo is much neater than the Gu Changsheng in front of him. The Gu Changsheng in front of him looks like a wild man, with long hair that is tangled and a thick beard on his face. His face is sallow, his cheeks are sunken, and his eyes are full of bloodshot. He looks like a drunkard with a hangover. Because of this, it is difficult to tell his age. But looking at his photo, he is probably in his 50s. Seeing that Wang Feng seemed to be paying attention to his appearance, Gu Changsheng smiled lightly. "After I found that the researchers outside had turned into zombies, I started my research work. However, because the start switch of the backup power supply is not in my laboratory, when the power is cut off, I have no new progress, but I have been thinking of ways. As for the disguise, I haven't taken care of it for a long time." Hearing Gu Changsheng's explanation, Wang Feng felt a little embarrassed. In fact, in the end times, no one would pay attention to their appearance, but this Gu Changsheng seemed a little excessive. Wang Feng paid more attention. "Sorry. I am their leader." Wang Feng smiled awkwardly. "Does Dr. Gu really have a way to research a serum that can dissolve the zombie virus?" "I can't guarantee this, I can only say that there is hope, because I haven't had much contact with these viruses, and I don't know the type yet. If I want to research, I need the Eugean Research Laboratory and some instruments here. In addition, it would be best if I could get some samples of advanced zombies." Gu Changsheng didn't pat his chest to make a promise, because he was locked up inside and didn't dare to come out at all, and there was no way to get zombie samples. In addition, after the end of the world began, the institute was cut off from power, so he didn't dare to make any promises now. Unexpectedly, his attitude made Wang Feng appreciate him even more. Researchers should have a rigorous attitude. It's more practical to stay at home and write novels if you know how to brag all day long. Okay. No problem. I'll give you everything you want. Whether you succeed or not, just try your best. Wang Feng nodded, then looked at the instruments that were moved out. It seems that they can't fit. It doesn't matter. There is a car behind, you find a few people who can drive, I will take you there, Gu Changsheng said. Okay, Wang Feng nodded, then looked around and found that the people on his side were moving things in and out, so he shouted to the believers of the God of Liberty standing on the side, do you have any people who can drive? Come over here. Those people looked at each other, saw the little leader nodded, and then stood out more than a dozen people. Gu Changsheng saw that there were enough people, so he turned around and led the way. Wang Feng waved to those people, then followed Gu Changsheng around the main building of the institute, and came to the place where Wang Feng and the others jumped in, pressed a few buttons on the operating panel next to the rolling door, and then scratched it with his badge, and the rolling door opened automatically. It turned out that there was a huge garage inside. More than a dozen brand new trucks were parked neatly inside. At the end of the garage, there were dozens of barrels of fuel. Wang Feng was overjoyed. What Peacetown lacked most now was fuel. Because they needed to supply the generator that provided power to the closed system, Su Mo and his team walked when they went out. After directing these people to load all the fuel onto the trucks, Wang Feng asked them to drive all the trucks out. Although those instruments could not use so many trucks, Wang Feng would not leave them here. When they came to the front, a group of people loaded all the instruments that Gu Changsheng needed onto the trucks. Under the leadership of Gu Changsheng, they walked around the institute and confirmed that there was nothing left behind. Then everyone got on the trucks and prepared to set off. Because of those believers, Wang Feng simply handed over all the trucks to those believers to drive, and let Lu Wu drive Hurricane to open the way in front, and the people in the Hope base walked in front to kill all the zombies that were just summoned by the mutant zombies. Then, 20 chemical defense vehicles driven by the soldiers of Peacetown followed behind Hurricane, and finally the large trucks formed a huge convoy and drove towards Peacetown. After this period of tossing, when they arrived at Peacetown, more than half of the night had passed, and it would be dawn in about 2 hours. Arriving at the gate of the defense wall, Lu Wu parked Hurricane on the side of the road, got off Hurricane, commanded the guards to open the door, and then asked the soldiers driving the chemical defense vehicles to drive the chemical defense vehicles into the fence. It was night, the old people were sleeping, and the curtains were drawn, so the soldiers guarding the defense wall opened the gate at the fence under Lu Wu's order. Because these chemical defense vehicles were prepared to transport the elderly, there were nearly 1,000 protective suits in the vehicles, all of which were found in the research institute. Although there were only over 300 elderly people in the sanatorium, these things could be used in the future. So Lu Feng and his team brought them all back. After all the chemical defense vehicles drove into the town, the gate of the fence was closed again. Wang Feng asked the believers of the God of Liberty to park the cars in the open space between the defense wall and the fence one by one. Then, he handed these people over to Lu Wu and told Lu Wu to be careful of these people and drive them away after dawn, so that they could try their luck in Haki City. After finishing these things, Wang Feng led everyone from Hope Base into the fence. However, Li Tianxiang seemed to get along well with the soldiers on the defense wall and chatted enthusiastically. He did not follow them in, but stayed outside. Wang Feng and his men ignored him and entered the town through the small door. Since they left, Su Mo has been standing at the window waiting for them to return. After seeing the 20 chemical defense vehicles driving in one after another, he was overjoyed and ran out of the sanatorium. When he saw Gu Changsheng getting out of the car, he was stunned for a moment, then rushed to Gu Changsheng and respectfully called out, "Professor Gu." "Hello." Gu Changsheng was stunned and asked in a daze, "Do you know me?" Su Mo was surprised and said, "Are you really Professor Gu?" I have the honor to read your masterpiece and see your photos, so I took the liberty to greet you. I didn't expect that you are really Professor Gu. Gu Changshen nodded when he heard it, then looked at the surrounding environment and shook his head. This place is really good, but... Wang Feng knew that Gu Changshen had misunderstood, and hurriedly said, Professor Gu, this is not our hope base, but Peace Town then. Wang Feng briefly introduced the situation here and the hope base, and Gu Changshen was relieved. Let's go inside to rest, Su Mo said. Su Mo. Just take Professor Gu in to rest. We won't go in. We can just find a place outside. Wang Feng shook his head and refused. It was too troublesome to enter the sanatorium. That's why Wang Feng didn't want to go in again. Anyway, he had gotten used to it. It was no problem to lie down and take a nap on the street outside. Wang Feng didn't go in, and the others didn't plan to go in either. On the contrary, Tang Haoshan and the others even wanted to go to the defense wall outside, because it looked like the end of the world. They were combatants, and it was better to have less contact with this peaceful environment. If they had too much contact, they would probably lose their fighting spirit, just like those people in this town. They acted too much and didn't want to go out. However, just as they were about to go out, there was a sudden noise outside, as if someone was arguing. Wang Feng frowned, turned around and walked to the small door of the fence, stretched out his hand to open the door, and walked out. It's our Heping Town's territory. You can't go in. It will disrupt the order. As soon as he walked out of the door, Wang Feng saw that the believers they brought back were gathered in front of the small door, making a lot of noise. And Lu Wu was blocking them and explaining to them. What's going on? Wang Feng asked. They saw you all went in, so they wanted to go in too. They said that the tents I arranged for them were uncomfortable. Our soldiers also live there, right? Lu Wu said with some dissatisfaction. I have explained to them for a long time, but they just don't agree. That's right. Is that tent for people to live in? And now it's the end of the world. What if zombies come in from outside? I saw it when I opened the door just now. The conditions inside are so good. Why don't you let us live there? Some of the believers shouted. Yes. We are servants of the God of Liberty. It was the God of Liberty who guided us here. This is the territory given to us by the God of Liberty. What right do you have to stop us from living here? Let us in quickly and confess to the God of Liberty. The God of Liberty will forgive you and come to save you again. The believers shouted in unison. Where did you find these idiots? Tang Haoshan, who was standing behind Wang Feng, looked at these believers with a confused face, because these people did not speak when they came to the institute, and because they were brought back by Wang Feng, no one cared. Unexpectedly, they dared to gather here and make trouble now. Thinking of this, Tang Haoshan turned around and looked at Lu Feng strangely. Lu Feng was furious. What are you looking at? Hearing Lu Feng's words, everyone in the Hope base laughed, then walked aside, sat on the ground, and prepared to watch the show with great interest, leaving Lu Feng standing behind Wang Feng, feeling depressed. This is not your territory, nor is it the God of Freedom. Lu Wu didn't understand, and after looking at them, he explained to them again. Wang Feng stepped forward and patted Lu Wu on the shoulder. Leave these people to me. You can't do this, the way to open it is wrong. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 266. After pulling Lu Wu aside, Wang Feng looked at the believers in front of him coldly. He did not leave these people to Lu Feng to deal with. Although he knew that Lu Feng was more suitable to handle this kind of thing than him, but these he brought people back, and it is better to solve the troubles he caused himself. If you feel the tent is uncomfortable, you can leave and go back to the supermarket. No one will invite you. Wang Feng looked at the little boss and said. The little boss paused. He had seen Wang Feng's skills before. It probably wouldn't take much effort to kill them all. Now that he saw Wang Feng's cold eyes and the killing intent in his eyes, he couldn't help but tremble, but he whispered, "The God of Liberty led us here, I can send you to find the gods of liberty. You can just ask them yourself." Then Wang Feng interrupted him directly. "Forget it. Everyone. If we don't go in, we won't go in. No matter where we are, the God of Liberty will bless us." The little leader didn't dare to say any more, turned to the people behind him and said, "The tent is just a tent. Let's just feel aggrieved. Well, sooner or later the God of Liberty will punish those sinners who offend him." "Who said you can sleep in a tent?" Wang Feng snorted coldly. "Since you said that tent is not for people to live in, then don't live in it. You are not welcome here, get out now." "Ah," the little leader was stunned, and then shouted excitedly, "You promised to take us in until dawn, how can you not keep your promise?" "When did I agree?" Wang Feng asked. The little boss was stunned, and after thinking about it for a moment, it seemed that he had said all that. Wang Feng just said, "Follow me." "You didn't agree personally, but..." The little boss still wanted to make a distinction. "You can go to your God of Liberty and sue me." "Get out now," Wang Feng interrupted him again. Now Wang Feng was in a bad mood and didn't want to say more to that guy. "Okay. Let's go." The little leader waved his hand and said angrily, "The God of Liberty will punish those who are disrespectful to his servants." The little leader turned around with his people and had just walked a few steps when he suddenly stopped and said to his people, "By the way, we drove those cars here, and we helped carry the things into the cars, so, the cars are ours, and our God of Liberty teaches us to care for others, so we don't take them all away, just 3 of them." After the little boss finished speaking, he looked back at Wang Feng. "Is this correct? We did drive the car back. It belongs to us. We will leave most of it to you as a thank you for saving us. The God of Liberty is merciful, and we will not go too far." Wang Feng just looked at him without saying anything, but there was a murderous look in his eyes. The little boss couldn't help but feel guilty when he saw Wang Feng's expression. However, when he thought about people like him being driven out at night, without a car, most of them would be dead. He might as well give it a try. Anyway, Wang Feng didn't speak, so he might have acquiesced. Woolen cloth? And he only has 3 cars, and he drove a total of 16 large trucks. "You 3, go and bring the cars over." Just the 3 cars filled with fuel, they also participated in loading the cars. Naturally they knew what materials were on the cars. Even if they were given the equipment, they wouldn't be able to use it. Moreover, 30 people and 3 large trucks were enough, but any more would be a waste of fuel, so the little boss just winked at the 3 people and asked them to drive. Seeing the 3 people walking towards the big truck without any thought of life or death, Wang Feng's lips twisted into a sinister smile, and then, a ferocious long bow appeared in his hand. The little boss saw the bow that suddenly appeared in Wang Feng's hand. He couldn't help but open his mouth and wanted to call the 3 people back. However, after hesitating for a while, he still closed his mouth. Anyway, these 3 people had nothing to do with him, so he might as well use them. "Put your life on the line." Just when the 3 people were approaching the big truck, Wang Feng suddenly raised the long bow in his hand, and then a scream of "Ah!" came out. The 3 believers who were walking towards the big truck felt a tremor all over and turned around. There was an incredible look on his face. The little boss also had a look of disbelief on his face. He raised a finger and pointed at Wang Feng, but he didn't say a word. His body softened and he collapsed to the ground. On his forehead, an arrow had penetrated. Take away his head and his life. The little boss's idea was not hidden from Wang Feng. He wanted to use the lives of those 3 people to test Wang Feng's reaction. If Wang Feng didn't care, they would have 3 more cars. If Wang Feng killed someone, they would only lose 3 people. They are all ordinary people anyway, so it's not a loss. What he didn't expect was that Wang Feng actually shot an arrow directly into his head. How could he, who was only a first-level enhancer, dodge Wang Feng's feather arrow? He didn't even have a chance to dodge, and he died. The reason why Wang Feng has never been cruel is that he knows that among these people, the most damned one is the little leader. He should be the one who created their God of Liberty. The other people are just a little stupid, or, in a state of self-deception, they chose to become believers in the God of Liberty. They just wanted to find a spiritual sustenance for themselves. Within 1 minute. Leave here, otherwise, you will end up like him. Putting down the bow and arrow in his hand, Wang Feng said coldly, your God of Liberty can't even protect his spokesperson in this world. Will he protect you? What? Make your own choice. Leave now. With the little leader's previous experience, these believers no longer hesitated, and had no other ideas. They rushed out of the defense wall, even ignoring the body of their previous leader. Lu Feng strode forward and came to the body of the little leader. He first pulled out the arrow nailed on his head, then bent down, picked up the body of the little leader, and then threw it far away. Then he walked towards Wang Feng, handed the arrow in his hand to Wang Feng, and said, you have a really good temper. If it were me, I would have killed them all directly. Alas! Those people are just a group of pitiful idiots. They are being used by others without knowing it. I really don't know how they survived until now. Wang Feng sighed softly as he looked at the believers who slowly left. There are more than 30 people, but there are only 2 first-level enhancers. This shows that they are lucky. They found a place with sufficient food in the end of the world and zombies can't attack. There is no other possibility, Lu Feng said disapprovingly. Good luck. Haha. Is it really good luck? Wang Feng murmured, as if he was talking to Lu Feng, and as if he was talking to himself. Lu Feng was stunned, and turned to look at those first-level enhancers, thinking. Lu Wu was a little stunned, and then he reacted, and couldn't help but fall into deep thought. He was thinking that if they hadn't been tolerant and explained to those people when they encountered the riot, maybe the loss on his side wouldn't be so great. It seems that Lu Feng is right, his way of opening is wrong. In this doomsday, some ways of dealing with things need to be changed. There are less than 2 hours before dawn, and Wang Feng and his friends are not sleepy, so they simply call Lu Wu to let those soldiers rest, and they will take care of the guard work. Lu Wu is not polite to them, and directly asks all the guards to go back and rest, and then he also runs to Wang Feng and his friends to chat with them. The guards naturally had no objection. They all looked at Wang Feng and others with gratitude, and then all went into their tents. They were grateful to Wang Feng and others not because they could rest, but because the more than 30 brothers who were ordinary people when they left became enhancers after they came back. The guards, who were surprised, naturally asked the reason. Those people did not hide it and told it all directly. Therefore, the guards were so grateful to Wang Feng and others. In this doomsday, the power of ordinary people is the most fragile. After becoming enhancers, although they are not really strong, they at least have more means to save their lives. Wang Feng and others sat side by side on the defense wall, looking at the night sky above, in a daze, and everyone was thinking about their own thoughts. Old Lu. What do you want to do after the end of the world? Gui Wuivong didn't know what he thought of, and suddenly asked Lu Feng with a brainwave. Tang Haoshan couldn't help but look at Gui Wuivong strangely. Old turtle. What did you think of? Why did you suddenly ask such a question? Who told you that the end of the world will end? Nothing, I looked at the night sky and suddenly remembered the war movies I watched before. It was also a similar scene, the same night sky, the same defensive wall, but their enemies were humans. Gui Wuovong's voice seemed a little unreal, as if he was lost in memory. At that time, there was a soldier who asked his comrade this question. His comrade said that after the end, he would return to his girlfriend, have a bunch of babies, and then teach them to play baseball and participate in some league. I don't remember the details, but I still remember clearly that when the guy answered, his face was very happy. Then what happened? Tang Haoshan asked again. Then, the enemy began to attack, and the guy who was asked was killed. Gui Wuovong answered somewhat disappointedly. Bang! As soon as the voice fell, Gui Wuovong was kicked off the defensive wall by Lu Feng beside him. Then why are you asking me? Lu Feng was furious. Damn it! I was just asking casually. A gentleman should talk, not fight. Gui Wuovong rubbed his kicked butt and jumped back to the defensive wall with a sullen look on his face. First, I'm not a gentleman, and second, I didn't fight either. Lu Feng put his hands behind his head, looked at the starry sky, and said indifferently. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 267. Actually, I really don't want this apocalypse to end. After being silent for a while, Lu Feng suddenly said, because to me, there is no difference at all between before the apocalypse and after the apocalypse. If there is any, then it's just that I'm doing better. At least, I don't have to worry about food now, and I don't have to go to the trash can to look for food every day. Of course, there is no food in the trash can now. Everyone did not speak, but listened attentively. For a while, only Lu Feng's clear and deep voice sounded around the defensive wall. Lu Feng seemed to have been suddenly stimulated by something today. He recounted his life before the end of the world exactly as it was, even in great detail. He told everything, how he was kicked out of the orphanage, how he competed with cats and dogs for food, how he killed those small animals and then ate their corpses alive. You know, I didn't learn how to communicate with people until after the end of the world, because before that, the people I dealt with the most were animals, stray cats, stray dogs, and me as a stray. If the world hadn't changed, maybe after seeing me, you would despise me and walk past me with disdain in your eyes. But what about in this end of the world? In your mouth, I have become Lao Lu. I have become yours. Comrade. Lu Feng looked at the night sky and suddenly laughed, ha 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 ha. You didn't expect it, did you? The apocalypse that you hate is so cute in my eyes. That's why, when walking through that corridor, you cried like crazy, but I didn't feel anything. Because you have been loved, you have relatives, you have experienced many warm scenes, and you have many memories to remember, but I have not. I feel that before the end of the world, every day I lived was the same. On the contrary, it is the end of the world. After it appeared, there were many scenes that I can't forget. At least, I wasn't bitten after the kick just now. I didn't expect. There are still people who think that the end of the world is good. Gui Wuovong sighed, and then he felt something was wrong, and turned to look at Lu Feng angrily. You treat me like a wild dog. Huh? You actually discovered me, Lu Feng said, pretending to be surprised. Get out. Gui Wuovong became angry with shame. Ha 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 ha, everyone around laughed. Lu Wu on the side looked at these people with some envy. He also had comrades who could also share life and death. However, when those soldiers faced him, they all regarded him as their superior. No one would speak to him so unscrupulously. And he and Su Mo also had the same superior-subordinate relationship. They seemed to be connected because of the sanatorium. 2 hours passed in a blink of an eye. When it got light, Tang Haoshan and the others were going to collect some dry firewood and come back to barbecue as usual. Suddenly they thought that the mutated beasts would be left to the old people, so they sneaked back. However, fortunately, many Mo did not forget them, and soon asked someone to call them in for dinner. After everyone handed over the defense task to the guarding soldiers, they all ran into the town and came to a small building specially prepared for them by Su Mo in the town. They had breakfast together. They said it was breakfast, but actually it was the food that Wang Feng left for equation yesterday, but everyone didn't care, as long as they ate some. How's it going? Have you decided? Wang Feng did not rush to eat. Instead, he looked at Su Mo and asked. He wanted to know whether Su Mo was going to move these old people so that he could arrange the next trip. Decided. Let's go to the Hope base together. Su Mo nodded. He took a look at the cars and protective clothing he brought back yesterday, carefully calculated them, and felt that there would be no problem in safely transferring these old people. If it's transferred, how long will it take? Wang Feng grabbed a can of lunch meat, opened it, and asked while eating. He knew that equation didn't rest last night, but went to study those chemical defense vehicles. The main problem now is those old men, everything else is easy to say. Anyway, it's less than a day's journey from here to the Hope base. If everything is done, it will take about 4 or 5 days, Fang Fang said after thinking for a while. 4 or 5 days, Wang Feng repeated, and then nodded. It has been 1 day since they arrived here, and it will be 6 days in 5 days. At that time, although the defense system of the Black Dragon Bridge has not been fully completed, the bridge should have been you can pass, but it is not safe here now. It would be best to move there a day earlier. You still need to go out in these 4 or 5 days. First, we don't have enough buses to take all the people away. I have heard that there is no shortage of fuel, but we still need a flat trailer. Come on, take the closed system off and take it away. I looked at it and it can't fit in those big trucks. Okay. You don't have to say everything one by one, just write it down on paper, and then we'll get it back, Wang Feng said a little vaguely, chewing luncheon meat in his mouth. After eating, Wang Feng led Lu Feng, Tang Haoshan, and others outside the fence again, ready to set off. They looked at a piece of paper and discussed it, and decided to go back to Haki City directly to collect the vehicles and materials on the paper. Although they can also go to Juking City, just enough to kill the zombies, but Wang Feng has seen the scale of Juking City and feels that it is a bit difficult for just a few people to go there. They don't have much time now, so they should wait until they get back, take all the Hurricanes and Guardian Warriors, and then clean up Juking City. As for whether the survivors there can survive these few days, it depends on their luck. After the believers, Wang Feng is not so concerned about searching and rescuing survivors. Since the direction has been decided, everyone asked Lu Wu for 30 guards and set off after entering the hurricane. Because there are many types of materials to be collected this time, they specifically told Lu Wu and his friends that they might not be able to come back in a day, so that they can rest assured. Lu Wu stayed in Heping Town to assist Su Mo after going out once. Lu Wu felt that he was very hit and could not help at all. It is better to stay here to help Su Mo after all, he is very familiar with this place, and he usually helps Su Mo manage it. After Wang Feng and his friends set off, Lu Wu also entered the sanatorium and began to arrange the transfer to the Hope base. On the way, Wang Feng and his friends saw those guys who were driven out by them. However, Wang Feng ignored these people. When they first saw Wang Feng and others, they thought they were chasing them, so they all knelt on the ground and prayed to their God of freedom. Fortunately, the God of freedom really appeared, and Wang Feng and others didn't see them. Ha ha ha. Do you think that group of guys will be the God of freedom appearing when we ignore them? Tang Haoshan laughed. Definitely, Gui Wuivong also said with a smile. Well, obviously. We unintentionally strengthened their faith and confirmed that their God really exists. Lu Feng sighed. Wang Feng didn't say anything, he just shook his head secretly. These people may have been deceiving themselves for too long, and they really deceived themselves. For such people, Wang Feng didn't want to save them. Let them fend for themselves. He is not a savior and will not be responsible for everyone he meets. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, Peacetown was ready to go. It took Wang Feng and his team 4 days to find all the materials and vehicles that Su Mo wanted in Hacky City, and Su Mo finally completed the transfer of Peacetown. Before, Wang Feng thought that the most difficult step was how to convince the elderly, but Su Mo didn't explain at all. On the night before the transfer, while the elderly were sleeping, Su Mo asked the caregivers to inject anesthetics into the elderly, so that they fell into a deep sleep, and then put on protective clothing and moved directly to the anti-chemical vehicle. According to Su Mo, these anesthetics are enough for these elderly people to sleep for 36 hours, and there are absolutely no side effects. Wang Feng couldn't help but sigh. This is called professionalism. He racked his brains and couldn't think of what kind of lies to use to deceive these elderly people, but they easily got it done. It is now the morning of the 6th day since Wang Feng and his team arrived here. Everything has been prepared. At Wang Feng's command, the convoy drove out of the gate of the defense wall and headed towards Hacky City. A few days ago, when Wang Feng and his team were searching for supplies in Hacky City, they unexpectedly discovered that those believers had also arrived in Hacky City. When they saw that Hacky City was just an empty city without any zombies, they were all excited and thanked their God of freedom for sending down miracles. Although Wang Feng and his team saw it from a distance, they did not disturb them. After a period of driving, Wang Feng and his team finally entered Hacky City. Su Mo and Lu Wu had not been to Hacky City yet. Seeing the empty Hacky City, they could not help but be a little shocked. They had seen the scale of zombies in Hacky City at the beginning. Although it was not as large as Juking City, it was also terrifying. After all, the sea of corpses composed of more than 20 million zombies looked absolutely endless. At this time, Su Mo and the others finally understood the strength of Wang Feng's Hope Base. However, what they didn't know was that the current Hope Base was more than 100 times stronger than when it destroyed the sea of corpses in Hacky City. Wang Feng, who was standing on the roof of the car, suddenly looked ahead strangely. His face became solemn, and Tang Haoshan and others on the side quickly picked up the telescope and looked in the direction Wang Feng was looking at. On the other side of Hacky City, a convoy was slowly driving into Hacky City, and this was a convoy composed entirely of military vehicles, and the people in the car were all wearing military uniforms. Wang Feng could see clearly that in the first car, in the front passenger seat, a soldier in his 50s was looking at them with a telescope, and on his shoulder, a star was shining with dazzling light. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 268. This convoy is very large, with nearly 100 military vehicles, and the number of people seen so far is about 4 to 5,000. They are all in military uniforms and neatly equipped. They look like a regular army before the end of the world. When Wang Feng saw this army, he was not too nervous, because the other party was a soldier and there should be no conflict with them. Soon, the convoy over there was gradually invisible, because they had entered the city and were blocked by buildings. They didn't want to be able to see it as clearly as before. What should we do? Lu Feng turned to look at Wang Feng. He had never been a soldier, so he had no feelings for soldiers. Anyway, for him, anyone who is not one of his own is an enemy. Keep walking, don't worry about it, let's talk about it when we meet, Wang Feng said softly. If they want to return to the Hope Base, they must pass through Hacky City, and that army has now entered Hacky City. Both sides must be we will meet, but Wang Feng really plans to get in touch with this army first. Wang Feng still has a good impression of these his comrades. Although there is a general on the other side, Wang Feng also wants to try to win over this army. If they do not have a fixed base, then inviting them to join the Hope Base is also a good choice. As long as the general can behave like a true soldier, then Wang Feng wouldn't mind delegating power to him. Wang Feng is actually not keen on power. Before the end of the world, he was just a soldier. Although he was a special soldier and had the rank of lieutenant, he did not lead troops, so he could only be regarded as a soldier. After the end of the world, although he nominally hoped that the base would belong to him personally, Wang Feng basically had no control over anything. Du Enlai, Shen Yishan, and Lu Feng were responsible for all matters in the base. Wang Feng was completely a mixed bag. It's all about a hands-off shopkeeper. The convoy on the opposite side is obviously still an organized army. Now that the end of the world has passed nearly 10 months, there is still an army that can maintain its establishment. This can be regarded as a miracle. After receiving Wang Feng's order, Lu Wu stepped on the accelerator and the hurricane drove forward. When setting off, Lu Wu volunteered to be the driver of the hurricane. One was because he felt that if there was a battle, Wang Feng would be the driver. Among these perverts, he, a second-level enhancer, was useless. He had been famous for hurricanes for a long time, but he had never seen it with his own eyes. Now he can not only see it with his own eyes, but also drive it himself. Lu Wu will naturally not let go of this opportunity. Wang Feng and his convoy also drove into Haki City, heading towards the Tianhua ruins in the city center. In order to avoid misunderstandings, Wang Feng specifically asked Lu Wu to drive slower. Because the hurricane was at the front of the convoy, he slowed down. Naturally, I can't get up quickly later. After driving for more than 10 minutes, Wang Feng felt a little strange. According to the speed of the convoy, they should have met by now. Just when they were wondering, there was suddenly a crisp gunshot from the opposite side, which seemed to be mixed with several screams. What's going on? There are still zombies in Haki City? Even if there are, they are all single, so they won't use guns, right? Gui Wuivong asked. It's not a zombie. There seems to be a scream, it should be a human being. Lu Feng's face began to look serious. Stop the other vehicles, Lu Wu, let's speed up. Wang Feng's face became as solemn as Lu Feng's. He also judged that the faint screams just now should come from humans. What happened? What happened? Internal strife should be impossible, so the only human beings left in Haki City are the group of more than 30 believers of the God of Liberty. The hurricane drove forward, broke away from the convoy, and headed forward. After bypassing a 40-story high-rise building, the army finally appeared in front of them. At this time, the distance between them should be about 100 meters. And the army on the opposite side was also at a standstill and did not move. What makes Wang Feng and others strange is that the army on the opposite side seems to be really having internal strife. The general Wang Feng saw before was talking to another general with a serious look on his face. When Wang Feng and the others appeared, they put aside their dispute for the time being and turned to look at Wang Feng. When they first saw Wang Feng and the others, the two major generals opposite him were stunned at the same time, and then looked at each other. Then, the major general that Wang Feng saw first suddenly said something, and then walked towards Wang Feng. The convoy behind them also followed the major general and drove towards Wang Feng and the others, and the machine guns on the vehicle also entered combat mode. However, Wang Feng did not react. Instead, he jumped out of the hurricane and stood in front of it, waiting quietly because he had just read the general's words, ask about the situation first. Seeing Wang Feng's actions, Tang Haoshan and others jumped out of the car and stood behind Wang Feng. Only Lu Feng himself stayed on the hurricane, sitting behind the machine gun and looking coldly at what was happening opposite him. Lu Feng didn't care if the approaching convoy was a soldier or not, as long as he recognized it as an enemy, he would give it one word, kill. Su Mo was not here at this time. He stayed behind to hold the battle. Su Mo has now become a second-level evolver. Because it does not take long to reach the second level from the first level, Wang Feng simply improved his strength first. As for Lu Wu and others, we can wait until they return to Hope Base to talk about it later. This major general was not wearing a regular uniform, but camouflage. His square face was imposing without anger. Under his thick eyebrows, a pair of tiger eyes flashed with brilliance. With his high nose bridge, he looked like a resolute soldier. "I am the commander of the 5th Army of the R Group Army, Major General Daiguo, report your identities." The Major General stood straight in front of Wang Feng and others and said. He just glanced and saw that although these people were all wearing military uniforms, none of them were regular soldiers, so he asked Wang Feng and others to report their identities. In fact, this general made a mistake this time, because he measured Wang Feng and others by the soldiers before the end of the world. He saw that although Wang Feng and others were wearing military uniforms, their standing posture was really problematic. Soldiers pay attention to 2 people in a row and 3 people in a row, and these guys in front of him stood in a pile behind this young man who looked like the leader. This kind of queue would definitely not be formed by soldiers, so this general would think that there should be no soldiers among Wang Feng and others. But what the general didn't know was that if we were to say that he was a soldier, even Lu Feng could barely be considered a soldier now, because they had all been trained by instructor Li Yingning. The name of instructor Shuro was not exaggerated. Who dared to say that his training was not completely military training? It was just because it was the end of the world now, and Li Yingning's training subjects did not originally include any subjects such as formations and military postures. Those were the responsibilities of the instructors of the recruit company. Li Yingning trained special forces soldiers, soldiers who would kill people at the first sight. Moreover, after entering the end of the world, even Wang Feng, who had undergone formal training, did not adhere to the previous military rules. He did not sit properly or stand properly, not to mention Tang Haoshan and others who had been following him. Wang Feng strode to Daiguo, stood at attention, and saluted with a standard military salute. 37,451 Special Operations Brigade, Lieutenant Wang Feng, I meet the commander, hello. Daiguo was stunned. He did not expect that the little guy in front of him was actually a genuine soldier, or a special forces soldier. However, Daiguo was relieved immediately. There were also special forces soldiers in his army. It seemed that these special forces soldiers did not pay much attention to their military appearance in normal times. Only when they gathered could they be seen as soldiers. Because they belonged to special forces, they generally did not appear in front of ordinary troops. Little ghost. Where did your Hurricane Type 2 come from? Daiguo raised his hand and returned the military salute, and then asked softly. Hearing that Wang Feng was also a soldier, his tone seemed much softer. Report to the chief, I need to ask for instructions before I can answer this question. Wang Feng hesitated for a moment and then said. Just say it when I ask you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? At this time, the other general had also come to them. After hearing what Wang Feng said, he immediately said unceremoniously. Wang Feng looked at the general and did not speak, but still maintained a standing posture. Wang Feng's attitude towards Daiguo was completely different from that towards Fang Cheng. It was not because Fang Cheng's military rank was low, but because Fang Cheng did not behave like a soldier when they met. In addition, at that time, Wang Feng had seen Fang Cheng's true face, so he would not be polite to him, nor would he treat him as his leader. But this Daiguo was different. When Daiguo walked towards them, the aura of who else but me and the majesty of being in a high position for a long time naturally came out of him. Moreover, when he walked over, he seemed to have walked out of the aura of thousands of troops, making Wang Feng and others unconsciously ignore the military vehicles and soldiers coming behind him. This Daiguo must have been a general who had been on the battlefield, a real professional soldier. The arrogant aura of looking down on the world, thousands of troops fearing, and despising all enemies can only appear in the body of a veteran who has fought hundreds of battles, and it is absolutely impossible to pretend. Wang Feng has always respected such veterans and regarded them as his predecessors. Although not all veterans can become generals, they may take off their military uniforms and return to the countryside after experiencing the battlefield, and start their new lives as ordinary people. But no matter how they live, the pressure of life and the old faces, the hustle and bustle of the world and the passage of time cannot crush their majestic bodies, wipe out their pride, and even more impossible to drown their past achievements and glory. Therefore, what Wang Feng is paying tribute to now is not Dai Guo's rank, but Dai Guo's identity, veteran. Veterans never die. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 269. Seeing that Wang Feng ignored him, the other general couldn't help but became furious. Boy! What do you want to ask me? Chief. I made it very clear just now. I need to go back and ask for instructions, Wang Feng said, neither humble nor overbearing. He did not want to be an enemy of his colleagues, but that did not mean that he would allow others to bully him. Asking for instructions, the Major General sneered. What? Is your leader a lieutenant general? Or a general? Jian Feng, Dai Guo seemed a little dissatisfied with the other Major General's words, and shouted, what does this have to do with military rank? This is not your soldier? Do you have the right to command? Humph. Whose soldiers are we dividing now? The army has been in chaos for a long time. According to the regulations, the army that was broken up during the war must be reorganized when meeting a more senior officer, otherwise it will be treated as a deserter. Isn't it? The officer named Jian Feng sneered. Chief. The regulations say that the army has been broken up. Are you so sure that we have been broken up? Wang Feng's tone turned cold. He had a good impression of Dai Guo, but not Jian Feng. It left him no good impression, so Wang Feng stopped being polite in his tone. I respect you because you are also a soldier, not because you are a major general. Does this need to be said? Look at the garbage behind you. How does it look like a soldier? If you don't stand tall, you are simply discrediting the soldiers. The Major General pointed at Tang Haoshan and others behind Wang Feng and said. Dai Jian Feng. Shut up, Dai Guo couldn't bear it anymore and shouted loudly, I haven't settled the accounts with you just now about the random killings you just made. You better humming stop with me. Point. Wang Feng also looked at the Major General named Dai Jian Feng with an angry face. This guy was very thin, with a little dark skin, big eyes, and a high nose. He seemed to be slightly younger than Dai Guo, but he looked quite gentle and seemed young. He should have been a handsome guy at that time, but the words he said were really unflattering. Tang Haoshan's face turned cold when he heard Dai Jian Feng's words. He straightened his body and exuded strong fighting spirit. If Wang Feng hadn't said anything, they probably would have beaten the Major General named Dai Jian Feng into a stupid, crazy. Wang Feng was also preparing to teach the Major General a lesson, but seeing Dai Guo's reaction, Wang Feng did not have an attack. When Silly Crazy heard Dai Guo's angry shouting, he lowered his head and stopped talking, but Wang Feng saw a sinister look in his eyes. Kid, Dai Guo turned to Wang Feng again. He didn't know whether he had forgotten Wang Feng's name or was used to calling young soldiers this way. However, his tone was very gentle, so Wang Feng did not respond to this title. Express dissatisfaction. If my guess is correct, your Hurricane 2 should have been obtained in a cave, right? Dai Guo looked at Wang Feng with a smile on his face, as if he was very fond of Wang Feng. It's appreciation. Yes. Chief, Wang Feng admitted happily. Dai Guo was not Lu Wu. Lu Wu could only recognize that this was a hurricane, but he did not know that it was Hurricane Type 2. However, this Dai Guo directly named the model of the hurricane, although Wang Feng was not in his convoy. Discovered hurricanes, but this Dai Guo must be very familiar with hurricanes, because there is not much difference in appearance between Hurricane Type 1 and Type 2. Moreover, Dai Guo even told the location of the storage warehouse, so Wang Feng did not intend to hide it anymore and admitted it frankly. Damn. Has the secret been revealed? Why go back and ask for instructions? The armory was not opened before the end of the world. Who will distribute the equipment inside to you? It is obvious that you know where the armory is, and then you will take people with you after the end of the world. Go get the weapons and equipment, form your own team, and even make up a leader. I think that's just a humming excuse. When Dai Jianfeng heard Wang Feng admit it, he immediately raised his head again, said with a ferocious smile, and then waved his hand, "Take them down. I want to ask how much they squandered those equipment." Boom! Among the approximately 100 soldiers who had already stepped out of the car and were standing behind Dai Guo and Dai Jianfeng, more than 20 people immediately pulled the bolts of their guns, raised their guns, and pointed them at Wang Feng. "What are you doing? Do you want to humming rebel?" Before Wang Feng could make any move, Dai Guo turned around and cursed, "I am the commander of the army. Did I give the order? Who the hell pulled the bolt? Stand up for me." More than 20 people stood up obediently, lined up in 2 rows, hung their guns on their chests, and stood at attention, not daring to move. It seems that this Dai Guo still has great prestige among his own army. "You guys. You're not allowed to get in the humming car when it's time to move. I'll just follow the car. When will you figure it out? When will you get in the car again? Do you understand?" "I understand," a neat and loud voice sounded from the mouths of more than 20 people. "Get the hell out of here, don't embarrass me here. Make such a fuss. You don't understand anything." Dai Guo waved his hand and dismissed all the soldiers. "I'm talking about Commander Dai. Are you referring to Sang and Hui?" After hearing Dai Guo's last words, Dai Jianfeng was a little unhappy and looked at Dai Guo coldly. "Hey," Dai Guo put his hands behind his back, turned to look at Dai Jianfeng, and smiled softly, "Aren't you a bad boy? You heard that, right? Let me tell you, Dai Jianfeng, I have already given you face by not pointing at your nose and scolding you. You just killed more than 30 survivors in just a few words. Because there are outsiders now, I won't argue with you. What's wrong with you?" "You," Dai Jianfeng was immediately angry, but he suppressed his emotions and did not explode immediately. "Humph," Dai Guo snorted coldly and ignored Dai Jianfeng. He turned to Wang Feng and said, "Kid, I want to go to your place and meet your leader." "I don't know." "No problem. Welcome, Chief." Wang Feng stood at attention immediately. He had originally planned to recruit this army to join the army, but now that they had taken the initiative, there was no reason for Wang Feng not to agree. As for whether they will seize power directly when they arrive, Wang Feng has not thought about this problem. It is true that most of the Guardian Legion are soldiers, but they always only listen to their own orders. Moreover, Wang Feng is just a major general. Wang Feng really doesn't notice it. After all, the base there is also a great god named the instructor inside. Wang Feng didn't know the rank of the instructor, but he knew that the instructor never even paid attention to the orders of the commander of the military region. That one was a general. In Li Yingning's eyes, he was indifferent. A major general was nothing. What? Okay. But we still have a task to complete first. Kid, either you leave someone for me, or you send someone here to wait for me in a day. You see? Well, let's do it. Chief. Do you know the Black Dragon Bridge? Wang Feng pondered for a moment, then raised his head and asked. I know. One of our missions is to go to Black Dragon Mountain. To go to Black Dragon Mountain, of course we have to take the Black Dragon Bridge. Dai Guo looked at Wang Feng and said with deep meaning in his eyes. Hearing Dai Guo's words, Wang Feng immediately understood that among the missions of these soldiers, there was also the reserve base. However, Wang Feng did not specify it, but pretended not to understand and nodded directly. That's easy to handle, Chief. After you complete your mission, just bring your people to Black Dragon Bridge, where I will be waiting for you. Okay. It's settled then. Dai Guo reached out and patted Wang Feng on the shoulder, and then said, then you go first. Wang Feng nodded, and then saluted Dai Guo, and then turned around and led Tang Haoshan and others towards the hurricane. When he passed by Dai Jianfeng, who was standing on the side, Dai Jianfeng looked at Wang Feng and said, boy, you remember, the hurricane is not yours. Old man, remember, the hurricane is not yours. Wang Feng curled his lips and said disdainfully. Without even looking at Dai Jianfeng, he jumped directly onto the hurricane. Then he picked up the walkie-talkie and said, let's go. Follow us quickly. Then, Lu Wu knocked the hurricane back and then turned to the left. Because the block they are currently in is not very wide, it would be a bit troublesome for the two convoys to cross each other. Especially the hurricane, which is wide and big, is much larger than a large truck, so they might as well just go backwards. If you take another road, you won't be able to detour much, only 2 kilometers at most. Su Mo, who was holding the line in the convoy behind, heard Wang Feng's order on the intercom and quickly directed the vehicles behind him to follow closely, one after another passing in front of Dai Guo and the others. Haha. This little guy seems to be quite capable. Dai Guo looked at the motorcade passing in front of him with a smile, nodded with his hands behind his back and said, I guess this is what this kid has gained this time. There was some envy in Dai Guo's tone. He liked Wang Feng very much. He felt that the young special soldier's behavior just now was very unique. He was neither humble nor overbearing. If he was polite to him, he would be polite. If Dai Jianfeng was rude to him, this guy would show off his face. Dai Jianfeng saw that he had the aggressiveness of a soldier. Commander Dai, our mission is to open that reserve base and bring back all the materials and equipment inside. That hurricane is obviously from the reserve warehouse. You just let this kid drive away? In this matter, I won't hide anything when I go back. I will definitely report it to my superiors. Dai Jianfeng turned and looked at Dai Guo and said. You can sue wherever you humming fall in love. I don't care. Dai Guo waved his hand, as if there was a fly next to his ear. Dai Jianfeng. You know why we are still major generals. I am the commander of the army and you is he the deputy commander. Seeing Dai Xiaofeng stunned, Dai Guo continued, because I, the major general, was killed on the battlefield, and your major general got it by flattering and snitching. You are not worthy of being a soldier. Humph. Let's wait until we return this time and see if our duties will be transferred, Dai Jianfeng said with a cold snort, then turned to look at the convoy where Wang Feng and the others left. The moment he turned around, Dai Jianfeng suddenly his expression changed and he shouted, stop them. Doomsday Special Forces. Author, Huanjing Chengzhu. Chapter 270. Hearing Dai Jianfeng's words, Dai Kuyi frowned. Dai Jianfeng. What the hell are you trying to do? It's those anti-chemical vehicles. Dai Jianfeng said a word, and then flew after him. If Wang Feng saw his figure, he would definitely understand that this guy turned out to be an agile evolver. Come back. Damn you. Dai Guo shouted quickly, but Dai Jianfeng had already rushed out, and then, several gunshots were heard, and Dai Jianfeng shouted, stop the car for me. Damn it, it's broken. Dai Guo's expression changed and he rushed forward. However, when he rushed out, the gunshots had stopped. Su Mo was fighting Dai Jianfeng with red eyes. Because Su Mo was he was a second-level evolver, and Dai Jianfeng was only a first-level evolver, so within a few moments, Dai Jianfeng was at a disadvantage. Seeing this situation, Dai Guo did not rush up to join the battle group, but walked around them and looked at the car that was hit by Dai Jianfeng. When he found that the shot was only at the bottom of the car, he couldn't help but relax. In one breath, even if the people in the car were hit, they would only be injured in their feet or legs at most, but no life would be spared. The car that was shot was a chemical-protected vehicle. Originally, the chemical-protected vehicle was in the middle of the team for protection. However, because Suemo wanted to cut off the rear, the chemical-protected vehicle he was in was left behind. In the end, he didn't expect Daiguo to see him when he turned around, and he rushed out and opened fire without asking anything. There were old people in the anti-chemical vehicle. Of course Suemo was anxious, so he fought with Daiji Unfeng. He was afraid that Daiji Unfeng would shoot again. The chemical-proof vehicle is not a hurricane, and its defense capabilities are not that abnormal. It is similar to an ordinary vehicle. It is just that its compartment is fully enclosed and equipped with an air purifier, so it can be used to transport these elderly people. Wang Feng and the others naturally rushed over when they heard the gunshots. However, when they saw that the last chemical-resistant vehicle was hit by a bullet, their faces changed drastically. They rushed to the car door, opened the door and got in. After a while, Wang Feng came out with some blood on his hands. Looking at Tang Haoshan and others who were staring at him nervously, he shook his head and said, "It's okay. Only one of them was shot in the shoulder. However, I don't know if it will contaminate the air here." After saying that, Wang Feng jumped out of the car and closed the door. The driver immediately started the air cleaner in the car and began to purify the outside air that had just poured into the car. The old people inside are all in a coma and are wearing protective clothing. Precisely because they are all in a coma, they are not sitting in the carriage, but lying down. That's why Wang Feng and the others are so nervous. Fortunately, when he let these old people in order to make them more comfortable, Suemo put all the bedding in the town on the floor of the carriage to increase the height. Only one old man was shot in the shoulder. Due to the obstruction of the carriage shell and protective clothing, the wound caused by the bullet was not large. Wang Feng had cleaned the wound and bandaged it just now after entering, but the warhead was not taken out. There is no such condition now. The old man originally he is old and frail. If the warhead is removed at this time, excessive blood loss will be in trouble. In particular, what Wang Feng is most worried about is that the old man's protective clothing is damaged. He has been in contact with the outside air. He doesn't know whether it will affect the old man. So after bandaging the wound just now, Wang Feng tied up the old man and he told the caregiver inside to take care of the elderly, to call someone immediately if anything happened, and left his walkie-talkie behind before walking out of the carriage. After briefly explaining the situation, Wang Feng looked at Daiguo next to him. Daiguo looked embarrassed. Little brother. I'm sorry. I didn't hold you back just now." "Yeah. It's okay. Just don't hold me back for a while," Wang Feng nodded, with a cold look on his face. "Little brother. What's going on with this old man in there?" Daiguo felt a little bad. Although he couldn't stand Daiji Unfeng, he and Daiji Unfeng were from the same village and grew up together. No matter what, it's a bit emotional, which is why he has been tolerant to Daiji Unfeng, and now he can't just watch Daiji Unfeng die in front of him. "Chief. This is a long story. I will explain it to you in detail when you arrive at the Hope Base. Let's settle a few things first." Wang Feng knew what Daiguo meant, but did not give him face. Daiji Unfeng's behavior had already touched Wang Feng's mind. "Feng's bottom line, you just shoot when the situation is unclear? Soldiers' guns are used to protect the people, not to kill them." Although he didn't ask what the gunshots and screams he heard at first were about, Wang Feng could guess it after hearing Daiguo scold Daiji Unfeng. It was Daiji Unfeng who killed more than 30 survivors just now. As for the identities of those survivors, it goes without saying that they are believers of the God of Liberty. It seems that their God of Liberty did not appear or failed to protect them. However, Wang Feng didn't care about the life and death of these people, so he didn't ask any more questions. But now that Daiji Unfeng has actually hurt someone on his side, Wang Feng will definitely not let it go. Wang Feng wants this major general's life. Little brother. I know that bastard Dai Jianfeng, he went too far this time, but I want to ask you a favor, just teach him a lesson and save him a life, how about it? How about I go back? It's hard to explain. Dai Guo quickly stopped Wang Feng, with a look of pleading on his face. Wang Feng looked at Dai Guo and sighed in his heart. This old general did not think of using force to suppress him now. Instead, he pleaded with him, a young lieutenant, as a general. From this point, we can see what kind of person Dai Guo is. Moreover, he did not say anything like he is still alive to comfort Dai Jianfeng, because right is right and wrong is wrong. Soldiers will never use the consequences of their actions as an excuse to excuse themselves. Okay. Chief. I promise you, Wang Feng nodded. Looking at the pleading look on Dai Guo's face, Wang Feng really couldn't bear to refuse this iron-willed general. Maybe this is the first time he has pleaded in his life, But after a while, Wang Feng realized that he might have thought too much. Hey. Thank you, little brother, Dai Guo nodded and thanked him. Then he seemed to want to ask something, but hesitated for a while and didn't ask. Wang Feng and others came to the place where Su Mo and Dai Jianfeng fought. Because it was a crossroads, the place was not small. Even the soldiers got off the car and came to watch the battle. At this time, Dai Jianfeng could no longer hold on. Su Mo was angry and showed no mercy. In addition, he was one level higher than Dai Jianfeng. If Dai Jianfeng had not been a soldier, he would have been very skilled and had a lot of fighting experience. Su Mo would have taken him down long ago. Bang, Su Mo seized an opportunity and blocked Dai Jianfeng's arm, who was being suppressed by him and retreating repeatedly. Then he kicked Dai Jianfeng in the chest with his right foot very quickly, and Dai Jianfeng was kicked and flew backwards. You dare to hit me? Dai Jianfeng got up from the ground, covered his chest with his right hand, pointed at Su Mo with his left hand and shouted, then looked at the soldiers beside him, what the hell are you looking at? Kill them for me. Among those soldiers, a small number raised their guns and pointed at Su Mo in the field, but did not pull the bolt, instead looked at Dai Guo, while the others did not even raise their guns, just looked at Dai Guo, waiting for his order. The lesson of the more than 20 soldiers just now was in front of them, and they dared not move. Dai Jianfeng. You humming fired randomly, what's wrong with people hitting you? Do you know that you just hurt someone? Dai Guo was furious. He strode to the front and pointed at Dai Jianfeng and said, what the hell is wrong with you now? You shoot at every turn. You are a soldier, not a soldier thug. Get the hell out of here. You don't have to teach me a lesson. Dai Jianfeng seemed to have torn his face off and cursed without scruples, then looked at the soldiers. He is the army commander, and so am I. The deputy army commander can't command the troops. What the hell is this rule? Dai Guo has already betrayed. He has committed treason and sent all our mission targets to them. You are still stupidly listening to his command? Aren't you afraid of being regarded as an accomplice and being shot when you go back? Dai Jianfeng. What the hell are you talking about? When did I treason? Where did the enemy come from? Explain it to me today. If you can't explain it clearly, I will kill you now. Dai Guo was furious and took out his pistol and pointed it at Dai Jianfeng. Just now, I was still pleading for you with that little guy, but you bit me and betrayed me. Treason and collusion with the enemy is the greatest shame for a soldier. Once accused of this, even if it is cleared up in the future, people will probably point fingers at him for the rest of his life. Therefore, any soldier with blood will never accept this charge. Okay. Dai Guo. Then tell me, what kind of car is that? Dai Jianfeng said, pointing at the anti-chemical vehicle he hit. How do I know what kind of car this is? Dai Guo looked back and cursed. Ha ha ha, Dai Jianfeng laughed and said, still playing dumb. This is the anti-chemical vehicle we are going to take back this time. If you don't believe me, ask them if this car was obtained from that biochemical research institute. Dai Guo was stunned and looked back at Wang Feng. Wang Feng nodded and said, "That's right. We got this car from a biochemical research institute near Juking City." "What's wrong? Hey? It's really this damn thing," Dai Guo scratched his head and said.